Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Thielman, the President and CEO of the International Institute of New England. Welcome to our Town Hall webinar. This is the third webinar we have held to provide updates on the historic resettlement of Afghans to the United States. Our goal in these presentations is to provide our supporters with an update on both the status of individuals and families in our care and the impact of your support on the Afghan families we are serving. I want to let you know that we are recording this webinar, and you can put any questions you may have throughout the presentation in the Q&A feature in the webinar. We will get to as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. Our mission here at the International Institute of New England is to create opportunities for refugees and immigrants to succeed through resettlement, education, career advancement, and pathways to citizenship. Each year, we serve about 4,000 immigrants and refugees in New Hampshire, Massachusetts. The next slide shows you our continuum of care. It's a visual of how we look at our services. We provide comprehensive wraparound services to new Americans from resettlement. We stabilize them through education and career planning, and then we help people to integrate through all of our services, including immigration legal services. This webinar is taking place on the one-year anniversary of the day our staff went to Logan Airport to receive the first family of Afghan evacuees coming into our services. The family was able to board a plane at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul in August of 2021 to escape the Taliban. Shortly afterward, they arrived at a military base in the US, and in October of 2021, they were in our care. Every Afghan family who has come into our services has been through incredible upheaval. Each left their homeland quickly, leaving behind prized possessions, successful careers, loved ones, and cherished memories. Many talk of missing home desperately. They worry constantly about their families, and they fear their presence here in America will endanger loved ones back home. Since last October, with the support of volunteers and many community groups, U.S. communities have welcomed over 82,000 Afghan evacuees. IINE is serving 544 of these individuals, giving us unique insights into this new population of Americans. Working with local communities, staff in our 3 offices in Boston, Lowell, and Manchester, New Hampshire, have placed families in apartments and homes in the region. We help families get access to public benefits, enroll them in healthcare plans, placed adults in our English classes, helped enroll their children in local public schools, and placed nearly all eligible Afghans in jobs in the area. Our immigration legal services team is providing legal assistance to Afghans, most of whom arrived in legal limbo with no long-term authorization to remain in the US beyond the 2 years of humanitarian parole they were granted, even though most will likely never be able to return safely to their former homes. The IINE legal team is helping those who qualify apply for special interest visas. And we have partnered with the Massachusetts Legal Assistance Corporation to help about 2/3 of our Afghan clients apply for asylum in the United States. The Afghan crisis motivated our team at IINE to ramp up our federal and state advocacy efforts. At the federal level, we have joined with groups around the country lobbying for the Afghan Adjustment Act, which would give Afghans a pathway to citizenship just as refugees have when they arrive in the US. While the legislation has bipartisan sponsorship, so far it has not gained congressional approval. However, we keep working with other groups to urge the bill's passage. Working with resettlement agencies that serve Massachusetts and New Hampshire, we have secured state assistance to support people from Afghanistan. Last year, in the supplemental budget, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts made funds available to help us hire staff and to provide direct financial assistance and legal services to Afghan families. The state of New Hampshire provided funding for staff members in our Massachusetts or our Manchester office who support Afghans. We're grateful for the leaders in both state governments for stepping up and supporting these new arrivals. We're also very grateful to everyone who donated to support Afghans this year. Thanks to your help, we were able to make it easier for families to find housing and transition to life in the United States. There is still a lot of work to do. Adjusting to life in the United States is a long process that requires years of support from our team at IINE and from local partners. This evening, you'll hear from two people evacuated from Afghanistan who came with their families to New England last year. Mustafa was supported by a community host, and Farkhanda now works for the International Institute. You'll hear their stories and their views of how the Afghan community is doing. With that overview, we'll move to the presentation. Today, you'll hear from Mustafa Jahanmal, an Afghan evacuee who supported the US military and who, with his family, came into our services and into the life of a community host in Boston last year. Mustafa will discuss his family's experiences resettling over the past year. Farkhanda Ehssan, who resettled with her family in New Bedford last year and joined IINE earlier in 2022. Farkhanda will discuss the resettlement experiences of the broader Afghan community over the past year. Our Chief Advancement and Officer and Senior Vice President, Alexandra Zan Weber, will discuss the ongoing needs of the Afghan evacuee population, advocacy efforts, and the broader shifts in refugee resettlement to be aware of. Finally, Anka Moraro, our Chief Program Officer, will answer audience questions at the end of the presentation. So we're going to take down the deck, and I'm going to start by asking questions of Mustafa. Mustafa, you ready to go?
Yes, sir. This is Mustafa.
Okay. So Mustafa, I guess the first question for the audience is, could you just tell us a little bit about your early resettlement experience and your relationship with your community host, the person who welcomed you and your family into their home?
Yeah, I was never expecting something like this to happen. The community was so nice, and especially the host family that we live with. And in the beginning, it was a little hard for us to resettle, to integrate, because everything was new. It's a big change for myself and for every member of my family, but we're happy that we fall into some good hands, and they took care of us.
That's great. Tell me, Mustafa, what have been your greatest challenges coming into the United States?
I mean, in the big picture, if you think about it, everything is a challenge. But biggest one was like finding employment. But IINE was able to help me to find a full-time job nearby, near to where I live, and but it's a well-paid job, and I can live with it. We can live with it.
Tell me, what work are you doing now?
I work in one of the local stores, and as a team member, as a team trainer. Actually, I got promoted.
Congratulations. That's a good thing. What kind of work were you doing in Afghanistan?
I was a translator. Altogether, if I count all the years, it was 8 years for U.S. government. In the beginning, it was U.S. Army. Then at the end, it was U.S. Department of State.
Got it. Okay, so this work is a little bit different.
Yes, totally different, but it's I still feel happy because I was able to make it here. I have friends and relatives who are left behind, and they're struggling, not from threats from the current government and other criminal groups, but a big threat is they can't afford any food, and they're in a horrible situation.
This is all your friends back home in Afghanistan. Yeah, I'm sure that's on your mind all the time.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not easy. Tell me about your kids. How old are your children?
I have three children. The first two are twins. They turned 6 in June
Nice.
and in school. And my daughter is she loves she compared to my son, my daughter loves going to school, and she's a fast learner. She speaks English. I learn some words from her sometimes because she is coming up with these words that I've never heard of. So she's good. They're all
She's
good.
good. So it's a boy and a girl, and then you have a little one not in school yet?
No, he's too little, and
Okay,
we're planning to enroll him next year.
next year. Okay. So the girl is doing a little better in school than the boy. That's kind of that's a national phenomenon. You realize that we're trying to address that in education. Yeah. Okay. All right. How is your whole family integrated into life in your community? You live in the city of Boston, right? You're a Boston resident.
Yes, we do
Okay.
live in Boston, and in the beginning, it was not easy, but especially for the wife who doesn't speak English, and it's hard for her to communicate with anybody. After taking some classes through IINE, and she is able to hold a simple conversation and communicate with if she has a problem. And she does hang out with the with the with the parents of the classmates of my daughter and my son, and she's not as bored as she was before.
Nice. Okay, that's good. Glad to hear that. If you could change one thing about the resettlement process you've experienced, you and your family have experienced, what would that be?
I mean, like our the whole evacuation thing was so chaotic. We can't really compare that to anything that's gonna happen in the future. I hope it doesn't happen to any other people in the planet. But if these resettlement agencies can have more staff, so and more resources available in the future, if something like this can happen, if something like this happens, so they can be well prepared for it.
Well said. That's an ongoing conversation, by the way, among all the resettlement agencies in the state. How do we get ready for people fleeing countries quickly and coming here quickly, because that's happening more and more. So what do you for this, for the audience here, what are the ongoing needs of your family? What do you kind of like in the next couple of years, what are you kind of concerned about for your own family?
So I concern about to and like my wife, she wants to work,
Yeah.
but she's still having problems with this language thing, and it's a big concern for her. And because living in Boston is not cheap, everyone knows that, and we're trying to make it, and I'm doing my best, but I don't think it's enough. And it's a big concern, and it's a big challenge that we need to uh, resolve and go through it, go over it.
Let me ask you a question. Is this sort of a new cultural experience for your family? In most families back in Afghanistan, would your wife have been working back home?
She was not. So the thing is, we're not from the city in Afghanistan. We lived in a rural area, and my wife is not educated. She's not literate. Uh, so it's a big challenge for my family, but we're trying, and we hope that that through these classes, she's able to speak enough English, so she could start uh, a little work, a little help to to help me with to support the family.
Got it. All right, Mustafa, thank you so much for being so forthcoming with us. We appreciate it. We know that wasn't easy. All right, now we're going to switch to Farkhanda. Farkhanda is a member of our staff, and Farkhanda came to the United States from Afghanistan in the evacuation in August, and she had a career back in Afghanistan, working with women who were building new lives, creating businesses, and doing important work there. So, Farkhanda, you've become sort of a leader among a lot of the Afghan community, especially Afghan women in Massachusetts. And I was wondering if you can start by giving your impressions of the early resettlement experiences of the Afghans that have come to New England.
Hi, everyone. First, thank you for inviting me to this webinar. And secondly, coming to the impressions, I would say this was a huge and enormous impression on everyone, on every Afghan, not only me, all of those who have evacuated from Afghanistan last year. The big evacuation from Afghanistan to America, like I would say the big difference between two parts of the world, from that part to that part, it really has a big impression on every family, on every person who came here. The first impression for them was like the first impression that could make them think, where are we going? Or what is this all happening with us? All of a sudden, the change that happened was just a change of a night. So the impression coming here, people, all those people who came here were never thinking of coming just with the difference of one night coming to America. So the impression for them of this country, this culture was really something very shocking. The people, those all people who are living in a totally different way of lives, totally different culture, coming here and trying to resettle here, it really is an impression for them, which was really hard for them to accept all that, digest all that, being a part of this community. And when I came here first, I was looking all that, not only in America, but I was looking everything in the process when everyone was in the camps and all that. And when I came here, just because I knew what is these people going through, the impression that had on their personalities, on their thoughts, on everything, it made me, I should do work, and I should be someone to talk, because I know many of the people here with us, as Mustafa told, many of the people, they came, especially the women, they are the one, they were not working. They were not the working ladies there. From 100%, you can say just 20% of women used to work in Afghanistan. And all those who came here, they had to be part of this economy, but unfortunately, they are still not the part of this economy.
Got it. Okay, thanks so much. I mean, can you kind of, you have a good feel for the Afghan community, at least maybe around the country, but certainly in our area. What do you think have been the community's greatest successes in the first year in the U.S., now that the Afghan community is a year in, and what have been the greatest challenges their first year in the U.S.?
First of all, I would really thank to all the communities throughout America, because accepting such a big evacuees, thousands of people, all of a sudden, is really something that we should be thankful to, and we are thankful. And secondly, the biggest challenges definitely for each community is to accept these people. And because again, I would say the difference of culture, the difference of ways, styles of living, was to accept these people. And again, I would be very thankful that they accepted this community, and they accepted with love and kind and a lot of helping hand. The greatest channel definitely is like to put them in the housing, employment,
yeah.
And especially giving rent your home. You know, if you want to rent a house in America, it really is something we never heard in our country. But these are the challenges that really the community had to face. And coming to the successes, I would mostly say about the community where I'm in. The community we are in has been so helpful to everyone. The biggest successes for this community is to put these families in employment, to have them housing, to have them start their education, putting their kids in the schools, in better schools, trying to help them with a lot of stuff that they really need to build a house. Every family they came here with empty-handed. They had nothing in their hands, although they had everything back in the country, everything, but they had nothing here. But fortunately, everyone within this 1 year, I'm sure, are having a lot in their homes. And this is just because of the help of the community that is doing. The community here in New Bedford, especially, I really like to mention that has been very helpful to everyone in this, every Afghan in this area. If we, I would just try to put some important things, like we are working on a grant for women to support women and put them and try to make them a part of the economy so they can help their families financially. We have there some cybersecurity classes for some of Afghan women who really wanted to study, and we find, and these are all free of cost for them. We are providing some very good free of cost driving classes for every Afghan here. Most of them have got their even license, and there has been families who adopted some of the families and helped them for a long time, help them with each and everything, even providing them transportation for their any kind of stuff they wanted. The health center here have been very helpful to everyone. They tried to help the families with everything they could, not only the health, like the insurances, everything. They provided them transportation with their appointments and a lot of the things that I don't think so I'll be able to mention everything here. So
Yeah.
there is great successes for the communities.
Thank you, Farkhanda. Let me ask you some specific things about how people are adjusting. I mean, how are people finding and coming to understand U.S. laws and U.S. customs, kind of the way we operate our communities and society in general? I mean, when you and your friends and family look at the way the U.S. government is structured and set up, does it make sense?
Again, I would say Afghanistan and America are two different parts of the world. They're really far away from each other. There's a big difference in everything, in education, in lifestyle, economy, culture, everything, language especially. That's the most important thing for everyone. Our people who came here, most of them are like they don't know the English language. It's a big barrier for them for everything. I have families here who really don't know even a single word of English. And I have been with them, how much it's hard, difficult for them, that they cannot, they want to solve their problems, but they cannot. They always need someone to be there to help them with everything. And fortunately, we have interpreters, but the important thing is an interpreter cannot be with you all the time. So this is the biggest thing, that is the language. They have to understand, they have to learn how to have this talk with each other, or try to make your impression on everyone who is around you. And the laws, definitely there are different laws. We don't have many of the laws who are here, even I would say 80% of the laws, we don't see them in our country. It's not that my country does not have laws, it's only that they have changed the laws. There are very different laws in this country. The first important thing I would like to mention is that you cannot, a family, big families, they cannot be supported here by just one person. In our country, it's only the men working, supporting a big family, no matter how big family is. But here it's impossible that one person is working and supporting the whole family. I really want all Afghan women to be part of this economy, not only for to support their family, but be someone, because they really deserve to be someone. And they are uneducated, most of them, or say not all of them. They need help. So, but one thing is I want to say is that they really have skills. All of these Afghan women have skills, and we can use their skills. I would say from platform of IINE, that we can have some skills trainings for them and use their skills to make them part of this economy, to make them come out of their homes, to learn how to grow in this economy, how to grow in this culture, how to be part of the society, all around the society. Our women are mostly at home. They are not out of the home. They are just sitting at the home, but they really need to come out And if they are not part of the social life in America, they're away from everything. They're
Got
away
it.
from everything, especially
right.
being in for the future of their kids.
No,
They
thank you.
have to.
That's well said, and I'm sure the audience is taking that in. Let me can you give me any examples of how the Afghan community is adapting to the culture here in the United States? Like what's it like, something that your community might have done in Afghanistan and you realize, oh my gosh, this is not how it's done in America, or anything come to mind?
Again, I would say there's a big difference in culture. My people have a culture shock here. Most of them, I would say not all of them. Some of them might have like those who have traveled outside or know some of the things. Yes, they are trying to adjust to this culture. They're adopting this culture. So it might be like a kind of funny, but I would love to share it here. Our people eating style is very different. So the first time when people came here, they could not find the bread that every family in country they used to have. And so they were when I went out for with one of our families. So they said, what do these people eat? They don't have bread. There's no bread in the markets. So then we like searched in the market. So we said they eat different kind of breads, not the same bread that we have. But fortunately, the people found it because we have, again, America is a country that have immigrants throughout the world. And we were able to find something like that. So there's a lot of the things that is difference with the culture. Another difference is there in our styles of home. Like people here, especially inside, the decorations of the home are really different from the one that we have. But still, I would say people are trying to adjust with all of these things, with trying to be part of this, although it's very hard. 1 year is not enough for everyone to adjust, to leave a culture that you have been grown with years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 15 years, whatever is there. Just to have that in 1 year, it's really something I would say we cannot expect that from people. But still, thanks to everyone who is helping all these families to be part of this culture, all those agencies, including IINE.
One last question that I think I'm curious about anyway, I think some members of the audience might be curious about is, how do schools differ from your perspective as both a parent and from your children's perspective? How does school feel differently to them here in the US versus Afghanistan, and how is it different for you as a parent interfacing with the school?
With the schools, I would say there's a change, but especially the language change, I would say that they have come here, they don't know, there's something vital. But still, before that, being a mother, I would say here, I don't find a big change. The only change is here people study on computers and laptops. In my country, everything is written, notebooks, books, big bag at the back. You go to school and you come back. But here, that's the difference. Maybe it's not a big challenge for me because I have been there. I know English, I can help my kids. But for a mother who is not educated, that really is a big change. She's not able to help her kids with anything in her studies. You know, the system here is every kid have to be in contact with the parent. Sorry, every teacher have to be in contact with the parents. And that's through the applications that the schools create, and they send messages, you send messages, and then you find the problems of your kids or whatever is there. But that's something mostly, maybe the parents who, the father of the family, if he's educated or he knows English, he can handle. But mostly, you know, these are the things that mothers handle. So I really know that these are some of the specific things that are hard in this area for most of our families. Like I try to be one of them to send messages, and then I came to the families. Okay, this is the message for your kid from the school. So you have to do this for your kid, or there is a parents teacher meeting, you have to go there, or your children is late, or they have holidays, they are not allowed to go to school for this day. So these are the things that makes a difference. And the only thing that can only be solved when if we have all of our especially the female to learn, to get the languages, and to be part of, again, so to be part of this society, so they can help not only their kids, but the whole family.
Well, thank you very much. So you're the one helping all these new parents adjust to the school system.
I'm trying, I'm trying
That's
to
quite a
be
service.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm really trying to be helpful with every one of them,
yeah.
because
That's
I
quite
understand what
yeah,
is
that's-
their issues.
well, that's quite a service to the whole community. So, and so Farkhanda, thank you very much. I'm now, and Mustafa, thank you both. You guys were excellent. I think you gave our audience a good sense of the experience of newly arrived Afghans. And I just want to say on behalf of everyone at the International Institute and on behalf of everyone that our organization interfaces with, that we are very glad the 82,000 Afghans are here and in the United States, and we certainly wish that more are able to somehow escape the country. And we know that both of you have loved ones back home, and you're hoping that somehow, some way, they can come join you in the United States, and we certainly join you in that hope. So thank you so much. It's now my honor to introduce our next presenter, Alexandra Weber, our Senior Vice President. She's going to talk about the ongoing needs of the Afghan community and give you a broader context on our work. Zan has been with IINE for more than 14 years. She started out receiving refugees at the airport and has worked her way up the organization and knows every aspect of what we do. And she has been instrumental in designing most of the programming that we offer here at IINE. So Zan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you everyone who has joined us tonight. And a special thank you to Mustafa and to Farkhanda. And I have the great privilege of having met and getting to know Mustafa and his family and his host. They live in my neighborhood. And I just have to say how grateful I am that he has been able to share his experiences with our broader community, because I feel like there's no better voice for the Afghan evacuees and their experience than those who have gone through and are partnered with us. And I think, as you've heard, the Afghan community has many ongoing needs. And we are happy to say that we will be working with this community for years to come, continuing to assess their needs and support their needs, and also the needs of other resettling populations. We also continue to seek community support to create and sustain a continuity of services. And in particular, I just wanted to mention that we're looking for volunteers to help with ESOL tutoring, to help in our LOL program with youth mentoring, to help at all of our sites in career mentoring, and also to continue to offer resource support. We're looking for ongoing donations and support to cover both program costs and client expenses. So we can go to the next slide. Thanks. So I also just wanted to take a moment and pull back and talk about the broader context of the Afghan evacuee work. And I think we mentioned our last town hall. We are doing this work, and we've done the work this whole past year in the context of rebuilding the refugee resettlement program after years of divestment. And then we'll just remind you that in 2017, 350 resettlement providers existed nationwide. And at the start of 2021, when many Afghans began to arrive, and again, that 82,000 number of people came to the US in a just over 5-month period, there were just 200 remaining resettlement providers. So like others, we really reached out far and wide to every community person and group who was willing to support some of our services and sort of come to that call of need. I think that one of the greatest challenges that we've had is that the services that we've had to provide have had to be in conjunction with struggling to recreate the infrastructure that we lost, and that both applies to the domestic program to receive refugees, but also to the overseas programming that is beginning to be rebuilt and is not fully rebuilt yet. So this past year, I also want to mention, on top of the Afghan evacuee program, the US government has opened up very different pathways to resettlement for entire populations that have allowed more groups to come into the US quickly, but have not offered the same benefits of immediate work authorization or pathway to permanent status. For refugees, this means that their future isn't secure. And for individuals, this means that our work to create security for these arriving populations is that much harder. So for example, and these are just an example of some of the different pathways that have been introduced this year for certain populations, including Afghans who mostly have come on humanitarian parole visas, not conferring refugee benefits of legal permanent status. Also Haitians coming in as mixed statuses, Ukrainians coming in through a very unique program that I'm going to talk about in a second. And then these are some of the services that we've had to stand up and offer because of the different and unique pathways people are taking and the benefits and status they're receiving on arrival. So for example, I want to also let our community of supporters know we've welcomed a huge influx of Haitian individuals and families, and more are arriving every day. This is a picture of Haitians at our southern border last year. Haitians are arriving in the US and they're being processed with varying statuses. Most do not confer the benefits of that we're used to refugees receiving. Most have no eligible immediate work authorization, no eligibility for basic case management services because of their immigration status. And at this point in time, we have about 500 Haitians in our services and one case manager to serve them all. Another population that we are beginning to welcome in huge numbers are Ukrainians, and like both Haitians and Afghan populations, we're so honored and excited to be able to offer some level of relief, safety, and security. We're welcoming growing numbers of Ukrainians that are coming through a new program called Uniting for Ukraine, which is a non-NGO sponsored program through which hosts in the US are able to offer resettlement to Ukrainians from abroad for up to 2 years. Once a Ukrainian is connected to their host, they're often then connected to the International Institute, and we provide case management and other services. We're currently working with about 310 sponsored Ukrainians, and we have them in case management, ESOL, and employment services, and many in our legal services. And, you know, similar to Afghans and Ukrainians, Afghans and Haitians, Ukrainians have humanitarian parole status, and therefore no permanent pathway to legal status and citizenship. And we've had to expand our legal services to try to help them process status adjustments. So with all of that information, I did want to mention, and I think we mentioned this in every update that we try to provide, which is the good news, which is that there's many ways to continue to help to support IINE and the needs of so many arriving individuals and families that are, again, like I've said, coming with such different opportunities for permanent stay and for working and supporting themselves here. As they're coming in, they're bringing hope and they're bringing skills into our communities. And this beyond the people that I've shared that we're providing services for tonight, we're also preparing to welcome about 350 additional refugees from other parts of the world this year. So ways that you can continue to help us are, you know, always say signing up for our newsletter and keeping in touch with us, which you've done tonight and joining us, volunteering, and I mentioned a few volunteer opportunities that we have great need for earlier, giving goods. We have a list for every site on our website of goods that we need and that we'd love to have community involvement in and support of. Donations, which, you know, our communities in Manchester and New Hampshire really allowed us to provide the level of support that we have offered the Afghan community this year. And like Mustafa said, even what we were able to provide, and even with another level of support, there's still not enough case managers to be able to have a smoother beginning for our community, our newest community. And then also, I think we've mentioned in the past, we have grown really exponentially in the last year to be able to cover many new needs. And we are also growing our employment team. And if you have any interest or know someone who'd like to join our team, we have many, many opportunities on our website. And the last thing I'll say is we created a unique opportunity this year, which we introduced in our last update for people who are interested in really creating a deeper experience with refugee families and who can offer a different level of support. So we're introducing Resettle Together, which is a community sponsorship program through which we're inviting community groups to work side by side with us in resettling refugee families. And I think some of the groups that we've been talking to are hopefully on this call tonight. We currently have about 3 community groups that we've set up and are preparing and organizing to welcome families, and we're looking for about 7 more groups to join us this year. And for more information about this unique opportunity, if you go to the next slide, you can contact our Director of Strategic Program Initiatives, and her information is on the next slide. There she is, Jessica Cerrone. And so that's my last slide, and it closes out our presentation tonight. And I'm so happy to welcome and turn the questions and answers over to our Chief Program Officer, Anka Moraro, and she will be here to answer your questions and address some of the ongoing needs of our client.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. I already answered to some questions in writing, and I would like to address a couple of more questions. One of the questions was, how long is IINE able to support families with children that have literacy issues and or health issue and are not able to obtain employment? So I think Zen already mentioned, we are lucky to have received numerous public funds and private donations for the Afghan evacuation. That those funds will allow us to support this population for longer than we actually support any other of our clients. So I think right now we are already at 1-year mark, and we are still supporting our clients with rent, utilities, and gift cards. So I think that will continue, and it looks like it depends. We might receive even more public funding, then we might be able to support them even longer. Another question is if IINE plan to address the breakup of extended Afghan families and dispersal across the United States in the future. This is a concern expressed by the Afghan families our team supports. It is very foreign for them to live alone as a nuclear family. Yes, that is a concern for us as well. Unfortunately, due to how they travel and how they were processed, a lot of families, as you already know, they were sent to different states without that being taking in consideration the fact that they will want to be together. So many families already decided to move out of state. They are moving where they have families or friends, and we at IINE support them in their decision to move, to be with families and friends. We help them purchase plane tickets, and we, as I said, support them through their move, if they want to move. Let me see if I have any other questions. I think there is a question for Mustafa or Afghan refugee. Why so many challenges that they face? Is there something they wish would be done more, better, different, or additional by IINE to help them with adaptation and resettlement? Mustafa or Farkhanda, would you want to take that?
As I said during my answers to Mr. Jeff, that more funds for these nonprofits that are resettling the refugees and more resources to them means less problem for the refugees in the future. So.
Thank you, Mustafa. Another question that we have is that there is a need of mental support services and there is very short supplies. Yes, that's very true. We have been encountering that issue. So all our clients are receiving a refugee health assessment where they are referred to proper mental services. Unfortunately, the mental health providers are booked for many months ahead, so it's really hard to get in to see a mental health provider. So hiring a specialist, I think we are looking into it, and maybe Zen can talk a little bit more about it. We were looking into maybe funding to hire a mental health specialist, especially in the Boston area. So yes, it's on our to-do list. Hopefully it can happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I thank you for the question. And I guess I would just add that, you know, Anka and I have actually been in this work for many years, and there's never been enough support for mental health interventions that are culturally adapted and that are funded and sustained. But we're really happy that we have had several new opportunities this year, and we are, just to remind everyone, co-located with the Lowell Community Health Center in our Lowell site, and we're able to work very, very closely with them across their continuum of health services, which includes mental health. So we're very excited that we've been able to partner on some opportunities. There has been some new funding for mental health for refugee populations, but like Anka said, the funding's new, and there's a tremendous capacity issue in this country, I think, more broadly for these types of services. So it's a start, and I think that it's so appropriate. But you know, as Mustafa mentioned, we're not really equipping organizations like us as a nation to take on all of the needs of our arriving populations, and to set them up on a course for really sustained success. And that's why we do so much work to invite communities into our work and to try to raise funds to support additional programming. We're not treated like other human services organizations that have federal negotiated contracts. We have a very strange funding model, and you know, I think we're trying to keep up with the real change in the waves of people that we're really being asked to support through the refugee resettlement program. Organizations like the Institute are really excited about some of those changes and the ability to be able to have the opportunity to welcome so many people who are in desperate need of safe harbor. But we have an incredible challenge ahead of us to be able to find the funding to be able to support everyone in across their initial needs.
Thank you, Zen.
Yeah.
Okay, going into a different question. How is housing identified and obtained for resettled Afghans, and are they eligible for state-aided public housing? If so, is there any assistance to facilitate the application process for housing? So, unfortunately, that is the biggest hurdle. That is our biggest problem. Housing, we identify housing by pretty much looking for apartments online. We have few landlords who are working with us and they would like to help refugees and immigrants, and we always contact them, but they only have so many apartments, right? So otherwise we just go online and call all the landlords that have apartments available and try to rent the apartments. When it comes to public housing and Section 8, refugees qualify for that, but they do not have priority, right? So we can apply for them that they might get housing in 5 years from now, right? So that's not gonna help right now when they are in crisis, when they need the most support. So that's the problem with that. The lists are really long. We are talking about really long waiting lists. And as I said, they do not have priority. So it's really difficult to find adequate housing for refugees, especially since a lot of landlords do not understand refugee programming. They do not understand refugees in general, and they will not want to take a risk in renting to clients who do not have a credit score, an employment history, and they cannot run a background check on. So housing, yes, is the most difficult part about, I would say, about our job right now. Another question that we have is what contributed to the decline of refugees served from 2017 to 2021? The Trump administration. I think that was the biggest. Once the Trump administration happened, then that was the first thing I think they did. They cut the refugee programming. So everything was cut to very, very small numbers. Our programming, our staff, there were many, many agencies across the countries that had to close doors because they couldn't sustain. So it was really hard, really hard. Let me see what we have here. Do you welcome religious communities to help? Yes, we welcome everyone to help. So if you want to help, please reach out to us. We welcome you to help as a volunteer. We welcome you to help with donations, gift cards. We take donations, some depending on the need. We take winter clothing donations, just clothing donations. Sometimes we take food donation. Again, depending on the needs. Yes, we do need help all the time.
Can I just mention, we actually, some of our strongest community partners are faith-based groups, and we also have built our Resettle Together community sponsorship program. And designed it in part for groups that are really already organized and in particular already maybe doing some humanitarian work. And we both have great connections and relationships with faith communities, but we're also looking very specifically at communities that have been organized and coming together to help us. As Anka said, housing is our greatest challenge. And one of the reasons Resettle Together is so important to us is that we can continue to offer refugee resettlement programming if we can have enough support for housing and hosting refugees.
Another question is about women needing extra care and support to getting them out. Meg Glazer is asking us if we can do maybe a Women's Day outing and taking them for shopping and lunch without men or children. So we actually are trying to do things like that. We have sewing group in Lowell, and we have a cooking group in Manchester. They meet once a week for a few hours, and it's just women without children and without husbands who can just enjoy each other's company and try to connect with each other. Boston is a little difficult because Boston is, our office is located in Boston in Chinatown, and our families are spread out across anywhere from New Bedford to Newburyport. So bringing them together is very hard, but we are working out to figure out how to maybe go to them instead of them coming to us.
And I'll just mention that we are very sensitive to the unique needs of refugee women and have been thinking really deeply about how to provide a more supported experience for our women and girls in particular. So are hoping to announce an initiative later on in this year to address specifically those needs, keeping in mind that every refugee needs support. This is a very a very unique opportunity, I think, to be able to better understand the needs of women and better connect them to some of those. Like Mustafa said, his wife has been bored, and she's amazing. I've met her; she's incredible. But we have a need for new and different types of programming. So Meg and everyone else, we really invite your ideas as well.
Yes, and thank you for that. Yes, another question is about how long do you anticipate that they will need support to achieve total self-sufficiency? And I think that it depends on the family. For example, I assume that Farkhanda and Mustafa will reach total self-sufficiency very soon. I mean, I think they are already self-sufficient, but there are other families who, for example, do not speak English, right? And nobody in the family speaks English, and they're maybe illiterate. That probably is going to take a little longer for them to adjust to the US. As Farkhanda mentioned, not being able to speak English at all and not being able to read is making it difficult for them to adjust and assimilate as fast as we would want them to do it. But obviously we are there, we are here to support them, and we will be there for as long as they need us to do it. So it's very hard to put a timeline on this.
Maybe one more question, because we're at time.
I don't think there is another question. I think there was, is the Boston Medical Center refugee program helpful? So we refer to them for refugee health assessment, but that's about it. That's all they do. I don't think we really have any programming with them.
Can I share my experience with BMC? I have an answer.
Sure.
So they do help and support, especially if you're applying for green card. So you need to do certain medical examination, and at BMC it's free of cost. It's paid through Mass Health. That the other programs don't have it. So it's a big thing for refugees.
And I'll just add, BMC is like one of our, I think, greatest community health centers and resources for clients. They have a unique refugee health admission assessment program that we refer to, and they also have another program for mental health supports and community supports, particularly for asylum seekers. And that's like every other program, they're just very, very busy. And, their capacity is, we'll never be able to meet the needs of the communities that, we're welcoming. But I do feel like they're doing incredible work.
Okay, there is a question. What are the educational opportunities available for Afghan women? Like, I would like to answer that. For all Afghan women coming there from Afghanistan, from last year especially, we have different categories. Like for some of them who are educated and they can understand something, we can have like some kind of school programs for them, so they can find this society and find job opportunities for them. For those who are very well educated or have job experiences, they can have like some special classes through universities or colleges to have a degree from America, so they can have better jobs. And those who are very illiterate, for those the education can be, first of all, the language, and later when they learn the language, we can have like some programs where they can learn how to have some skills, because having them to be part of the education, university and all that is almost something like impossible, we think, for them. Maybe some can do, but still, for those who have a lot of kids learning language, and then later after, if they learn language, if we can find some places where they can learn some skills, any skills, and they can use their skills to have some kind of jobs or financial support for their families.
So, I want to thank everyone for being part of this webinar tonight. Thanks for all the great questions. And thank you to everybody who is so supportive of our work. I want to thank Zan, Anka, Farkhanda, Mustafa. I also want to thank Kelly Fleming from our development team and the entire development team for setting this up and getting the word out. There's ways to support us. You can see that at the end of the presentation. And thank you for being partners with the International Institute of New England. Thank you for supporting us and learning with us as we do the work that we're all called to do. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.